camera. You said you're ready at 4, so I assume you're ready now. Clemens, you ready?
Yes.
Everyone ready? Okay. Let's go. I want to welcome everyone to our regular scheduled meeting for the Montara Water Sewer District and Sanitary District. Where I'm not starting off well at all. And with that in mind, can we have a roll call?
Okay. Director Slater Carter.
Present.
Director Boyd.
Here.
Director Wilson.
Here?
Director Harvey.
Here.
Director Huber.
Here.
Okay, President's statement, I have nothing to say tonight. Oral comments, public hearing on items that are not on the agenda. I don't actually see any public here at all. Anything from the board that wishes to speak on items not on the agenda? Hearing none, the consent agenda is the following. Approve the minutes for December 7 and January 4. Approve the financial statements for December 2017. Approve warrants for January 1, 2018. SAM flow reports for October, November 2017. Month review of the current investment portfolio. Connection permit applications received. Monthly water production report for December 2017. The rain report, the solar energy report, and the monthly public agency retirement service report for November 2017. Is there any item that any of us wish to pull from the agenda, of the consent agenda, I'm sorry? Hearing none, can I have an approval? So moved.
I second the motion.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, it's 5-0. We have no old business. We have 4 items for new business, starting with review and possible action concerning receipt of the 2016-27 audit. Clemens.
Yeah, thank you, Dwight. We've received the audit for 16-17. Just want to say, usually we get a little bit earlier, but this time we had to wait ultimately for our actuarial report. Exactly, that's the word. Very complicated word. Actuarial report. And we just received that recently and presented this to the board, and all that triggered then that now the audit could be completed and be released. We have representatives with VTD here, and actually, so we have Tarek, who's been doing a lot of work here, and then we have Ahmad, is actually our new partner, so you've got to know AJ throughout the years, and now we're with Ahmad. So Peter's also here, just in case there's any questions. And maybe, Peter, I can ask you just to tell us what you're seeing in the audit to start with, what's important for this district. Ultimately, I'm going to ask for the board to acknowledge the receipt of the annual audit and direct the general manager to send a copy to the county, state controller, Standard Poor's,
Okay,
and to post it on the website.
fair enough. So how do we want to proceed on this?
Suggesting that we give Peter just 2 minutes to tell us what he's seeing, and then maybe I think Ahmad wants to do a similar
All right.
presentation.
So with the conclusion of the 6/30/2017 fiscal year, we would then, as district staff as well as myself, close the books and get them all ready for the auditors to come in and really live up to their standards as far as what their audit opinion and their governmental auditing standard, their gas opinion, they are required to look over them on a test basis, sample transactions, and really just say, okay, are we doing what we should be doing here at the district, and is everything above board? And then so going through that process, what I look for on the back end is that reviewing the report and saying, okay, what I prepared and presented to them before they came held up. There were no audit adjustments. There were no audit findings in terms of our internal control or major significant deficiencies or material weaknesses within internal controls, which is also what they examine. That's what I'm looking for, and at the very end is to make sure the district has a clean opinion, or as much as I can help that process. And I'm happy to say we had all of those. So with that, I'll turn it over to our auditors at VTD.
Good evening. My name is Amat Goraibe. I am the partner in charge of this audit. This is the annual financial report for the district. The scope of the audit is to ensure that the financial statements are fairly stated. The district staff prepares the financial statements. They prepare the final numbers. They present it to us, and what we do is we audit these numbers. We ensure that these financial statements are fairly stated. Essentially, the process is just making sure that the amounts reported over here are correct. It is a process in which we confirm balances. We look at your cash balances. We confirm your cash balances. We do different types of procedures, analytical procedures. We look at your receivables and payables and your equity. We confirm your debt. So this is essentially what the process of the auditing is. Along with that, we take a look at the internal controls as they relate to the financial statements. We take a look at the manner that you process receipts, disbursements, payroll, different types of controls. And if we noted any deficiencies in these internal controls, we are required under government auditing standards to report these deficiencies to you. So I'm pleased to let you know that we were able to issue these financial statements on time. We encountered no difficulties. We had no adjustments to the financial statements, meaning that the financial statements are fairly stated. This year, the significant change is the new pension plan that was implemented. So you're going to see in the notes to the financial statements, currently the plan is almost fully funded. It's a few $100s, and that obviously is because of the valuation. But at the end of the day, it is fully funded. But it does have significant disclosures in there as to how these pension amounts are reported on the financial statement. So that's a new thing that is in there. And again, I mean, I can go through the different financial amounts that are reported, but I'm sure that you get monthly reports over here that keep you up to date. This is as of June 30, 2017. And with that, I'll be more than happy to take any questions.
The real question I have for you is, are there any material findings of concern?
We had no findings, no concerns.
Board, questions?
I would just say on the pension plan that you're just basically auditing to ensure the accuracy of it.
That's correct. So,
But you're making no judgment on, does it look like it will be funded properly if current trends, conditions to continue? You're not making a real assessment of that.
we are getting an understanding of the significant assumptions that are used in
Okay.
calculating these pension liabilities. And I know that the discount rate is something that is always debated. There's a lot of questions about the discount rate. It is in line with what's out there in the industry. What you have to remember when it comes to these discount rates is that when you look at the pension amounts and how they will be paid based on life expectancy. So it's a very long-term liability, probably longer than the maturity of your general obligation bonds. So yes, if an actuary assumes 6 or 7% investment rate of return, if you look at the history of the market, that's how it performed over the past 30, 40, 50 years. So we look at the assumptions. Obviously, neither the actuarial nor us, nobody else can project what these discount rates are, because no one knows exactly what's going to happen in the future. But it's definitely in line with what the actuarials all across the industry are saying, including CalPERS, various pension plans that are out there in California and other states. So it's definitely in line with what everybody else is saying.
Okay.
So what action item do you need from us, Clemens?
Maybe a motion to accept the audit or direct the general manager to send it to the relevant parties.
Can we have a motion to that effect?
So I'll make, okay, I'll second.
I like that. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, 5-0.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Right.
And like I said, tie selection next time.
Sure.
Yeah, in your dreams, I can see your expression. Thank you
Alright,
so
thank you.
much. We appreciate your work. And all kidding aside, we really appreciate the support. And I knew this is your first year with us, correct?
Yes.
So hopefully we'll see you next year.
Yes.
Okay, good enough. Second item is to review and possible action concerning adoption of the connection charge report. Clemens, back to you.
Yeah, this is a standard item that we have up every year. Senate Bill 1760 that requires us since 1999 to publish information about capacity charges, essentially what they're used for, where is this money going. And we want to make sure that we don't receive more connection charges than we spend on capital projects. So we have a connection charge report, summary of the connection charges for fiscal year 16-17, one page for the annual water connection charge, and another page for the annual sewer connection charge. And so this is going to be a similar recommendation. We're asking for a motion to authorize the filing of the annual connection report with the district clerk. So meaning we file it here, have it available for review at any time.
Discussion?
It's basically a perfunctory thing that we just have to do, right?
Correct.
Yeah, we do this every year.
Yeah.
This kind of thing came out, I think, out of the Little River Commission report, with some
Yeah.
agencies squirreling away massive hordes of cash.
Basically against the law. Okay, do we have a motion, please?
So moved.
Second? Somebody, please? No,
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, that's 5-0. Third item, the review and possible action concerning sewer authority mid-coastal budget amendment. I think that's the same budget.
Yeah, we've talked about this already at our last meeting in January 4. We knew that Sam planned to amend the budget. This was ultimately triggered through the failure of the bus duct at the plant and fairly costly repair of estimated to be $460,000 that Sam needs to finance it. Sam wrapped up a number of other items in the budget amendment. What we actually have in front of us is two versions. We have a 3-item version and a 5-item version. What we're looking at really is approving the 5-item version, meaning it contains all line items. And so there is an administrative civil liability that we know is coming down, a state fine. And Sam estimates those costs to be, hold on, where is it, $300,000. So we have the Untitled Pipeline System Repair Project. That was already approved. The money was already authorized from this board, also from the 2 other member agencies. So this is just an administrative act, getting the budget amendment on this. The $300,000 is for the liability, the fine. That is what Sam estimates needs to be paid this fiscal year. The third line item is the new bus duct, or the bus duct repair. Then we're asked to contribute our share of $100,000 of additional general legal counsel fees, and also $45,000 for a new operator in training position, and that already started. So and it's only $45,000 because fiscal year is relatively short. So this is what's remaining in this fiscal year. Going back to my staff report, what are we asked to contribute? Hold on a second. So the overall amount that Sam is asking is $1.5 million and $1.58 million, and our share is $341,000. Our recommendation is to approve the 5 line items that Sam is asking for. Amend the budget by resolution of the Montara Water Sanitary District consenting to approval of amendment to the SAM general budget for this current fiscal year. And again, the resolution is drafted to approve the 5 line item budget amendment version.
Okay. Discussion maybe starting with the same notes.
Yes. Half Moon Bay chose not to approve funding the general counsel legal fees. And I am very, very concerned that it is leaving Montara, I'm speaking from Montara, at great risk. There is no one at SAM to advise the general manager about legal things, for instance, Public Records Act requests, to review the documents before they're sent out. There was recently a public records request for the Moss Beach project. And I'm asking our board actually to have our attorneys review the documents that are sent out from SAM, because we need to protect ourselves. And it wouldn't be the attorneys would not be asked to have the reference point of SAM, but simply for what can be done to protect Montara. There's a lot of stuff going on right now. SAM could not have a closed session at our last meeting because there was no attorney present. So the board is essentially in these very litigious times. SAM is out to sea without a paddle, so to speak. We don't know where we're going. We don't necessarily know what the directions are, and so I'm very, very worried about that. These costs.
If I could just clarify
Please.
on what you're saying, we're not getting feedback from our attorney at SAM about the progress of the case that Half Moon Bay brought against us, because Half Moon Bay has refused to fund any participation of the attorney at SAM. So rather than acknowledge that in the past year, leaving aside the lawsuit that Half Moon Bay brought, we've had the issues that we've had to deal with the regulators on the spills. Our legal expenses have understandably been significantly impacted by that. We've run through the budgeted amount that we've had. We're now down to zero and barely can't make up money out of whole cloth. But Half Moon Bay refuses to bring money to the table to fund even the most basic operations. So at our last SAM meeting, the attorney couldn't attend and couldn't give us the update on either of the two closed session items that were the attorney's update on the ongoing matters. So we're in a really unusual place. When Catherine says we're out to sea without information, it's on these matters. And the SAM board isn't looking where we're going on other matters, but
On legal matters,
right, on the
however.
legal matters where there is no agency that would meet and discuss items like this without having counsel, nor would an agency have a general manager who's unable to seek counsel on reviewing bid documents, looking over the fulfillment for Public Records Act requests, answering various questions that come up in the ordinary course of business. But right now, that position has effectively been defunded by Half Moon Bay's refusal to put money forward. So that's what we're looking at. We sent out the two options, fund the 3 items or fund the 5 items. Our recommendation is that we fund the 5 items because we need all 5 of these. It's not really a question.
And if you read the version on the sheet that Beverly sent out, it's the last sheet on this staff report, you could see the documentation of the request, and the initial chart at the top was simply just information. Attachment A is what attachment is, A is, I believe that the additional assessments that will be invoiced is 179. We've already had assessments of 161,000, right, Clemens?
I believe that's correct.
So, yeah, our recommendation is that we approve all five. We are being watched closely by admin agencies, or by regulatory agencies and so on, and I think it's unfortunate that all of this stuff has broken all at once, but that's what happens when you don't take care of things for a long
I have a
time.
question for you guys. So if the Half Moon Bay continues to refuse to fund the attorney, does that mean that they will be a non-participant in this attorney's?
You know, I think that's something that we should discuss with our attorneys in closed session.
And I'm happy to defer that to closed session, because that actually impacts my vote. Because then the real question comes in, if we are paying for the attorney, meaning Half Moon Bay is defaulting on that, are we better to have our attorney being paid by us versus us contributing to a common attorney, which our interests are being sort of.
That's a really good question. I think we have to look at the, how SAM works. When SAM,
If I could interrupt, make sure we don't go too far afield into talking about,
I just wanted to talk about the budget process.
yes,
And
Thank you.
let me just do the budget process. What we've got in front of us is a request from the SAM board to make an adjustment to the budget. And we've got option A and option B. And for an option to be ratified by the three owner agencies, all three need to find agreement. Half Moon Bay took an option, a third option,
Yep.
which was option A plus a new option of funding the staff position.
The operator in training.
Now, that's not one that was approved for distribution to the member agencies, but we can think about how we might want to calibrate on that. I think it's kind of an open question about whether or not we've got the option to pick an option that wasn't approved for distribution by the SAM board.
Can I ask a question? Chris, maybe if this is okay
Sure.
to ask, just for clarification from my point of view. So if Montara and Granada fund the general counsel legal fees, can the attorney work that half time for Sam?
I think this is
I mean,
ultimately
I know
a
it's a dumb
question
question,
to, this is a question to SAM and the SAM board.
Okay.
I think the question really is, does this agency want to fund this, yes or no? And
Okay.
if we want to fund it, we should vote for it. Staff recommends voting for this as a 5-line item, meaning including the attorney's cost.
So here's my
Well, no,
suggestion.
I understand.
Just a
but
minute, I have one more thought, and that is, and it's a question for Chris and Clemens and Peter. If we vote to fund it, can we revote to unfund that particular position if we haven't received an invoice for it? I want MWSD to be taking a leadership role in SAM as, with SAM as an important agency on the coast. I believe I sent to you guys the transcript-like thing that I took from the Half Moon Bay City Council meeting where they were discussing SAM. And the lack of good information on which the council was making its decision was frightening. And so I believe that in my opinion, I would recommend still going for 5 and maybe for the 5 items, and maybe with the caveat that if all 3 agencies don't approve it, then we will only vote for we will remove the general counsel legal fees from it, and we can then discuss how we handle that. But I don't know whether you read what I sent to you or not, but one city council member was quite adamant that she wants Sam to be its own special district. Now, there was no discussion on the costs of creating a special district. As a matter of fact, her exact words were, and I don't have them in front of me, so I'll say her approximate words were, that the whole reason for the lawsuit was to turn Sam into a special district. Now, that's going to be a little interesting discussion for this board to be having if that kind of thing comes up. And frankly, Sam needs to be able to defend itself.
Okay, so I think, Bill, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I have actually one question. The joint powers agreement, does it require legal representation?
That's a good question. I don't think it requires legal, it permits the JPA to retain legal counsel. I doubt it's not,
No
A
agency is
requirement.
required unless it's in the charter
Right.
document, right? No
Right.
agency in the state is required,
right?
but no agency in the state in its right mind would try to operate without one.
So this is one of those questions that sounds reasonable, that it's not required, but it's, let's say, recommended. But it wouldn't hurt to double check the JPA just
Well,
in case.
here's the deal with Scott,
I
I'll
think I
respond.
have
The
it
school
with me.
district, for instance, which I have a little experience on, only brought in attorneys when they felt the exact need for it. So
Yeah.
they were not in attendance at every meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
This group, and I think Sam and others, tend to want an attorney at all meetings. That is not a requirement.
Harbor District,
I agree.
Granada,
My-
Half Moon Bay,
My point is the choice.
CCWG.
It is a
It's
choice.
a choice, and I'm not gonna argue the pros and cons,
Yeah.
but it is a choice.
Keeping us out of trouble is always good.
Yeah, I'm not, again, it's a choice, it's not a requirement. So here's my recommendation. I think this is a closed session. We have the actual issue of attorney support
Some-
in closed session.
We're getting a little far
My-
field.
my
and
point.
I
Do
would
we
go
wanna-
back to
do we-
Clemens.
Do we want to go into closed session now so we can?
Well, we're very close to ending our open session discussion
Mhm.
anyway, and to your point, what we might wanna do is defer this till we have a closed session on litigation and come back into open session for the final vote, and I'm gonna recommend we do that. And, unless there's any objection from the group by those.
I'd like to make sure the public has an awareness of how we act on this item.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
report out on open session as we.
Yeah, but the camera,
Well, one thing we could do perhaps, I'm gonna ask the camera, if we send you a video report of our open sessions, could you incorporate that into the filming of this? If he does a video shot from a cell phone and we send that to you,
Yeah.
could you attach that?
I think on the other hand, for now, as Catherine recommended, I'm prepared to vote for yes for all five at this point. I think we can just go ahead and,
Well, we can take a
I
vote.
recommend that we go ahead and continue, and then we could come back to it. I mean, since we're on camera, and we'll discuss it later anyway, but for now.
Well, the only question
we
I
should
have.
Go ahead and go for it.
Yeah, the only reason why I'm a little cautious, and I don't have a lot of energy behind it, I wanna make sure that if we go ahead and vote for it and we elect later that we got comfortable with that vote, we have the authority to withdraw it without any impunity, and I don't know if I have confidence in an answer on that.
Well, with Robert's rules, anyone who votes for it can ask for it to be reconsidered, and then we can change.
so if it's unanimous, it's easy. You can all
Well,
split
anyone
it.
who votes against it can ask for.
No, anyone who votes for
For
it.
it, that's true.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can take the action knowing that if we arrive at a different conclusion after having had the closed session,
That's true.
then we can, hey,
I'm okay with
yeah.
that. As long as
I
we-
certainly for the public want to indicate my strong interest in improving all five, because I believe we need all five. I think, in my best judgment, that's what Sam needs.
Okay,
My,
so,
my guess is that if Half Moon Bay does not, approve funding and legal representation for Sam, that what will have to happen is Beverly will have to come back to the Sam board and get, approval to, bill the other two agencies separately, and we will have to set ground rules for what the attorney can and can't do.
yeah, okay, so let's do this. Yes, there's all sorts of things that could happen if Half Moon Bay does not participate, which we probably should anticipate. Why don't we put a motion on the table and vote on it, please?
So moved.
I second the motion.
Okay, any further discussion on the motion?
Just to clarify, it's a staff recommendation also to vote for this,
Staff recommendation is very clearly to vote for the 5 line items.
and that's what we're voting on here.
Correct. The 5
Okay.
line
Yes.
Yes.
Okay?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, it passes 5-0, and we may or may not return to it after a full session. Clemens, last item, I think is due with the board meeting in 2 weeks.
Yeah, it's the usual standard item. We don't think that we need a meeting on February 15. If we do, you'll all be alerted as soon as we understand that, but at this time, we think we can probably get away with just 1 meeting in February.
Okay,
I will probably be out of town on the 15th. I can attend by phone, so
Okay,
give me some time to send you that.
I had that meeting about 1 in the morning, just really test that premise.
That's fine.
Depends on whether you're in Hawaii or New York, right?
Yeah, so I'll have to check where you're at first. Okay, fair enough. Oh, this will be interesting. Sam report.
Well. Well.
And-
It was a short meeting. We had no closed session. Let's see, we have one of the longer discussion items is whether we were going to have standing committees or not. And it was decided that we are, and that, one member of each agency, has the option to be on a committee. For instance, the operations committee, nobody from Granada wanted to be on that. That one is me and Debbie Reddick. No, Jim Blanchard
Jim
chose
agreed
to
to
be
do it,
on that, yeah. And so, we do have a finance committee. I've forgotten the others, I'm not looking at my notes. What was most interesting to me at the meeting, and I would really recommend, and Clemens is going to print for you, at the meeting, at the Half Moon Bay meeting, one of the council members had labeled the general manager of SAM as, this is not exact, but a good approximation, incompetent and abysmal. And so at the SAM meeting, 6 days later, 2/3 or 3/4 or 95%, I didn't count them. Most of the staff showed up in support of Beverly. And 3 of them spoke. One had been the union rep, well, yeah, and he had said he really appreciated Beverly, but he also said he had never negotiated against anyone tougher. But that she's running a very good shop, and and that's very good. Another fellow showed up, and his wife is going to deliver their baby in about a month, and he said, she's home, not feeling well, and I would prefer to be there, but I'm here to support Beverly because I think she's the best manager we've had. The first one also said that in his time at SAM, there had been 6 general managers, his 30 years, 6 general managers, and 5 interim managers. So it truly is a revolving door. The last one, and I would really recommend that people tune in for the last 10 minutes of the SAM board meeting, because this has everything to do with the request for the proposal for services from Half Moon Bay to manage, to have somebody service their collection system. John produced some documents called hotspot reports.
One of the longtime Sam employees.
Yes, one of the another 30-year employee. And, so he held up the sheet for Granada, and he said, look, 12 of these have been repaired
In the past year.
in the past year. He held up the sheet for Montara and said, I think it was 8 or 9 of these have been repaired.
The bulk of them. We had a shorter
Yes.
hotspot sheet, and Montara, we, under Cummins County, had repaired, a good chunk of those. Granada had repaired a good chunk of those.
He held up a two-sided sheet for Half Moon Bay. None of them had been repaired. 0. And he actually started out his comments with, I'm talking to the representatives from Montara and from Granada because the people from Half Moon Bay say we never talk to them. And we've sent them all of these reports, and they have not acted on any of them. And then he had other sheets, but I did ask to have these sheets printed for the board and for everyone else, because I think it's very telling as to maybe the source of the problems in Half Moon Bay is again, there's not a great deal of communication in what's going on, and yet they think that turning salmon into a special district would be better. I don't know. There's no discussion on the cost of who is going to pay them. So in any event, that part, I think, we had the normal business. That part was the most telling about the state of Sam and the state of where I'm afraid things are going.
Okay. Scott?
So we talked about the general budget priorities, how Beverly had arrived at what was being put forward this year, and talked about the infrastructure plan projects. All of that's been distributed now, I believe, by Beverly to the 3 member agency managers, and seeking feedback on those specific projects. Are they the priorities? Do we want to try to fine tune that at all? She's going to take that feedback from the general managers, incorporate that, and then coming up soon, we're going to have a finance committee meeting at SAM, probably on a Saturday, and we'll be trying to hammer that into some shape for the budget proposal. So that was long. I encourage you to take a look at the attachments to the SAM agenda, because you'll see a lot of this stuff again, and it's good to know what's coming. So, in short, you pick the priority 1 projects from the plan that had been put together and presented to the board last year. Her approach previously had been take some priority 1s, take a few priority 2s, and maybe a couple of priority 3s, and then work across taking down all 3 lists over a period of years. And after last year, she's like, let's just go clear out the priority 1s. She took the same kind of amount of money, instead of spreading it across the 3 types, crammed it all up into the priority 1. So that's what you'll be seeing, or that's what's been distributed out to the agency managers. And I think it's a good time to start forming your thoughts on those projects, and see if you have any questions, and anything we might want to discuss here, provide our feedback to comments as well. But I know that with Clemens and Pippin, we've got some excellent eyes to look at these things and weigh in with some helpful comments. It's going to be an interesting budget year, so this is one where the more we pay attention and the more we contribute up front, the better shot we have at trying to get through the budget process in a reasonable amount of time. We're always under time pressure. Last year, we didn't even get it closed out before the fiscal year ended. This year, we'd really like to try to actually nail it down, have the budget finalized in May, or maybe even a little earlier. Yeah. It's ambitious. We're going to try.
Midcoast Council?
Nothing to report.
Okay. CSDA?
The meeting is next Tuesday.
Okay, wait for that report. The attorney's report?
There's no attorney's report?
Okay. You don't look like our usual attorneys.
I don't.
No. Directors, anybody? Clemens?
Nothing.
Okay, you know, you're getting off quite light. We're gonna let you go for the camera. And we're gonna go to closed session, and as soon as, until, only give ourselves about a 10-minute break.